but these musicians, fucking hell. It's great that this is opening here now, tonight, on Sunday, because, as we all know, tomorrow that bloated orange fool south of the border is threatening this country with economic warfare. And be under no mistake that he's making a very grave mistake indeed. Because of this narcissistic, greedy, selfish fool thinks that he can take on Europe, Mexico, Canada, and China. Together, he is very delusional, ladies and gentlemen. Last week, for just 24 hours, this man withdrew all the medicines necessary, life-saving medicines necessary for the poorest people of our planet. He withdrew the food that they depend on for every one of the poorest people on this planet. Can you conceive of being such a person who has been elevated to the most senior, powerful position in the planet, that he would take away the richest nation on the planet, would take from the poorest child the food from their mouth? No. No. This is not allowed. And that's why this show, showbiz, voices, music, lights, is about other. And it's, as they say, it's together. The most improbable things happen. So Harvey, John and I wake up every morning. This morning I had a mail. No, hold on, I love this shit. They say in Ireland, cunis, that means silence. One voice. What did you say, dude? Wanker. This morning we woke up, I had a telegram, I had an email from the chairman of the World Health Organization. Trump has removed their funding. Let's be clear. What the WHO does is warn all of us, the world, everyone, about the pandemics that are being bred or escaping or developing, and preparing and funding or organizing the vaccines that will save all of us. He's withdrawn it. He's put us again all in danger. Yesterday we woke up to a little email from a crowd of people in North Ethiopia for £15,000. £15,000, 30,000 bucks. The number of children who go to school. The schools have been destroyed 8 months ago, destroyed in the war. The females have been raped. The male children have been brought home and forced at gunpoint to rape the female members of their family, and if they couldn't or refused, they were killed. Tonight, this afternoon, Toronto, 25 million suffering from enforced famine in Sudan, mass gang rape, and if you're black, you're killed. Band-Aid is there on the border. Tonight's performance will give the Band-Aid Trust the money to still do that stuff. And as Bob says to John in the play, I just need you for an hour. 40 years on, he hasn't put it yet. We're done there. So I've said enough. And when we watch this thing, it's odd, obviously, and embarrassing to see a character you on the stage. Obviously, it's not. Obviously, it's a cartoon. Everybody can see that, you know. He's really shit at playing me, you know? Or John, or Harvey. But it's important. Pop music became important. Anything's important if we want it to be, if we want it to mean something other than what it is. These people make what we do every night important and remind us of why we did it in the first place. And your appreciation of this afternoon and hopefully full houses for the rest of the time. Canada, I want to tell you that if it wasn't for Brian Stewart and CBC back in 1984, 1985, then a lot of this wouldn't have happened. As the play says, it was Brian's film. It'll take too long as usual, but Harvey asked me and Bowie to go around to talk about what Bowie was going to do in his office. It was about 11 at night. And every evening at 6, I'd go to various rooms in the record company and do an interview with each of the national stations around the world, tell them what was happening. And I got to Canada, and the CBC people said, Bob, we'd like to look at this bit of film we made. And I didn't have time. I said, guys, no. They said, well, just take it with you. Went back upstairs, did some calls. I was going over to Harvey in Oxford Street. It was around the corner. I was on the phone to someone, I slipped the video in, and what I saw was beyond measure appalling. So I ran around to Harvey's, and David was there, and we were talking about what I was going to do. So with your David Bowie, 5 songs would be great. And but before we work out what songs we want to do, let's watch this. And Bowie sat there, and tears came down his face. And what had happened was CBC couldn't show this stuff. It was too much for me, David, Harvey, or you. It was the pornography of poverty. It was an obscenity. And it was these innocents, as Craig described, in the epitome of devastation. And David said, I'm giving up a song. And I said, please don't. If you give up a song, people will go and make tea. They won't come back. You lose them, they're gone. And he said, I'm giving up the song or I'm not doing the show. Okay. He wanted to show it, and Harvey freaked out. He said, the BBC will shut down the international feed. They won't show it. That's why CBC didn't show it. He said, I'm showing it at the end. So that's why after Heroes, David just said, I want you to watch this. And he points up. If you look at the YouTube channel, you'll see it. And this was the world, its youth, its beauty, its health, all in front of those screens. And like you saw in the play, the girls got off the boyfriend's shoulders and tried to cover up themselves as if they were naked. The boys just stood there transfixed. But that was the moment where the phone lines collapsed. And we ended up, I don't know, what was it, John? Within a week, $140 million, which in today's money is about $480 million in 1 week. And that was CBC. Still goes on. Be under no doubt, as the play points out, you hand on the baton to the next crowd of people. Be under no doubt that when we do it together, that as Craig says, as Bob says in the play, then it's politics, then it's game on, then things change. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is not immutable, things change, and we can change them. Thank you.